The summer of 2007 should have been the Carter family's new beginning. Ryan had sold his Dallas construction business for enough money to start fresh in Los Angeles, but somewhere along Interstate 40, in a forgotten motel room that smelled of cigarettes and desert dust, their 8-year-old son Tommy vanished between darkness and dawn while his parents slept 10 feet away. June 18, 2007, Gallup, New Mexico. The Desert Vista Motel sat like a relic from the 1960s, neon sign flickering, paint peeling in the dry heat. Ryan Carter pulled their loaded SUV into the parking lot at 9:15 p.m. They'd driven 11 hours since Amarillo, everyone exhausted. Tommy was asleep in the back seat clutching his Game Boy. Lisa gathered their overnight bags while Ryan carried Tommy inside, the boy's head heavy on his shoulder. Room 12 was standard roadside motel. 2 queen beds, brownish carpet, a television bolted to the dresser. The air conditioner rattled but worked. Tommy woke up long enough to brush his teeth, change into his Dallas Cowboys pajamas, crawl into the bed closest to the door. Ryan double-locked the door, attached the chain, checked the windows. Old habits from rough neighborhoods. Lisa kissed Tommy goodnight at 10:30. His hair still smelled like the French fries they'd had for dinner. Normal 8-year-old boy on a boring road trip, no idea he had 11 hours left. But here's what the Carter family didn't know. Room 11, separated by a thin wall and connected ventilation system, had been rented 3 hours earlier by Danny Kovach and Mike Torres. They'd paid cash, used fake names, requested that specific room. They'd driven 16 hours from Dallas, following the Carters since morning, waiting for them to stop somewhere isolated, somewhere with old infrastructure, somewhere perfect for what Victor Reeves had paid them $20,000 to do. Victor Reeves had lost everything in March 2007. His construction company, Reeves Development, had bid against Ryan Carter's firm for a $40 million highway project. Ryan had won by undercutting Reeves's bid by just $90,000. Some said Ryan had inside information, others said Reeves had gotten sloppy. Either way, Reeves Development collapsed within weeks. Bankruptcy, divorce, humiliation. Reeves blamed Ryan for all of it, started drinking heavily, started talking about revenge, started planning something that would hurt Ryan the way Ryan had hurt him, by taking away what mattered most. 2:15 a.m. Lisa woke to use the bathroom. Muscle memory from years of motherhood made her check on Tommy. He was there, blanket pulled up to his chin, breathing steady. She touched his forehead, habit from when he was a baby, then returned to bed. Ryan hadn't stirred. The air conditioner cycled off, then on again. Through the thin walls, she could hear muffled television sounds from the next room. She fell back asleep within minutes, not noticing the sweet smell that had started seeping through the ventilation grate. The chloroform derivative that Danny Kovach fed through the connected ventilation system was medical grade, stolen from a veterinary supply warehouse, not enough to be dangerous to adults, but enough to ensure nobody would wake up for what came next. He'd practiced this in an abandoned building in Dallas, calculating airflow, timing, dosage. Mike Torres kept watch in the parking lot, nervous, chain-smoking, wondering if $20,000 was worth kidnapping a kid. 3:30 a.m. The bathroom ventilation grate in room 12 had been manufactured in 1971, held by 4 screws that had been painted over dozens of times. From inside the ventilation shaft, those screws were accessible. Danny had unscrewed them 2 weeks earlier during a reconnaissance trip, replaced them with shorter screws that barely held. Now, working in complete darkness, feeling his way through the metal ductwork, he removed them entirely. The grate came free. The opening was 18 inches square, too small for an adult, perfect for extracting an unconscious 8-year-old boy. Tommy Carter weighed 62 pounds. Danny pulled him through the ventilation shaft inch by inch, careful not to leave marks, not to tear the Cowboys' pajamas, not to wake anyone. It took 12 minutes. By 3:45 a.m., Tommy was in room 11, still unconscious, being wrapped in a blanket. Danny replaced the ventilation grate from inside the shaft, screwed it back loosely. Unless someone looked closely, it appeared untouched. Mike carried Tommy to their van, laid him in the back, covered him with moving blankets. They left the Desert Vista Motel at 4:03 a.m., heading south toward the Mexican border. 6:45 a.m. Ryan's phone alarm went off. He showered first, letting Lisa and Tommy sleep a few extra minutes, but when he came out of the bathroom, Lisa was sitting up staring at Tommy's empty bed. The covers were pulled back. "He's probably in the bathroom," Ryan said, but the bathroom was empty. They checked under the beds, in the closet, behind the curtains. Tommy was gone. The door was still locked, still chained. The windows were closed, locked from inside. It was impossible. Tommy was gone, but there was no way out. The Gallup police arrived at 7:15 a.m. Officer Janet Yazzie had seen plenty of runaway kids, custody disputes, family dramas. But this was different. The room was sealed. The parents were genuinely confused, terrified. She called for crime scene techs while Ryan and Lisa stood in the parking lot, Lisa calling Tommy's name, Ryan trying to stay calm but his hands shaking. The morning sun was already hot. Tourists at the motel stared, whispered, took pictures that would later appear on true crime forums. The first real clue came at 9:30 a.m. A crime scene tech noticed a single thread caught on the bathroom vent, blue and red, consistent with cowboys' pajamas. The vent screws were loose. When they removed the grate entirely, they found microscopic blood traces. Tommy had scraped his shoulder being pulled through. The ventilation shaft led to room 11, empty now, but the bedsheets had been stripped and taken. The manager said 2 men had checked out at 4 a.m., paid cash, no names he could remember. But here's what changed everything about the search. At 10 a.m., a gas station attendant in Grants, 30 miles east, called police. 2 men had stopped for gas at 4:30 a.m. with a kid in their van. The kid looked asleep or sick. 1 man had bought children's Tylenol and orange juice, paid cash, but the security camera caught their license plate. Texas registration. The van was registered to Mike Torres, address in Dallas, criminal record for assault, known associate of Danny Kovach, who worked enforcement for loan sharks. The FBI took over at noon. This was interstate kidnapping now. They ran Danny and Mike's known associates, found their connection to Victor Reeves through phone records. Reeves was arrested in Dallas at 2 p.m., drunk, initially denied everything, then broke down. "I just wanted to scare Ryan," he said. "Take the kid for a day, make him sweat, give him back." Nobody was supposed to get hurt. By the time Reeves confessed, Danny and Mike were approaching the Mexican border at Columbus, New Mexico. Tommy had woken up in the van, confused, scared, asking for his parents. Danny had given him more chloroform, too much this time. The boy was unconscious again, but breathing shallow. Mike wanted to abort, leave the kid at a hospital, run. Danny said they were too deep now. Cross into Mexico, lay low, collect the rest of their money from Reeves, figure it out later. 4:47 p.m. The Columbus port of entry. Border Patrol had received the Bolo alert 2 hours earlier. When the van approached, agents were ready. They surrounded the vehicle, weapons drawn. Mike surrendered immediately, hands up, crying. Danny tried to run, made it 15 feet before being tackled. In the back of the van, under moving blankets, they found Tommy Carter. The medical report would use clinical language. The emotional impact was lost in terminology. Tommy had experienced respiratory complications from chemical exposure. Medical intervention was attempted. Resuscitation efforts continued for 43 minutes. Time of cessation, 5:31 p.m., June 19, 2007. What the report didn't capture was Ryan Carter collapsing in the hospital corridor, Lisa's scream echoing through the emergency room, or the doctor's hands shaking as he delivered the news. The legal proceedings took 2 years. Danny Kovach was convicted of murder during commission of kidnapping, life without parole. Mike Torres testified against everyone, got 25 years, possibility of parole after 15. Victor Reeves was convicted of conspiracy to commit kidnapping, 20 years. He was killed in prison in 2011, stabbed by an inmate who had an 8-year-old son of his own. But the aftermath was worse than the crime. Ryan and Lisa divorced within a year, the grief too heavy to share. Ryan started drinking, lost his new business, lived in his car for 6 months before his brother found him and got him into rehab. Lisa moved back to Ohio, changed her name, tried to disappear. She still celebrates Tommy's birthday every April 3rd, alone, with a cake he'll never eat. The Desert Vista Motel closed in 2009. The owner couldn't overcome the reputation. Room 12 became infamous on ghost hunting shows, people claiming they could hear a child calling for his parents. Room 11 was sealed, then eventually demolished. But the ventilation system remained, a metal pathway between spaces that should have been separate, a route that should have been impossible, a connection that killed a child. 17 years later, in 2024, Danny Kovacs was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer in prison. He gave one interview, trying to explain, trying to apologize. "We never meant for it to end that way," he said. "The kid wasn't supposed to wake up." The dose was wrong. Everything went wrong. He died 2 months later, taking no comfort in confessions that changed nothing. The last photograph of Tommy Carter was taken at a rest stop in Texas 12 hours before the motel. Lisa had made him pose by a giant Roadrunner statue. He's grinning, missing a front tooth, wearing a Transformers t-shirt, throwing a peace sign. A normal kid on a boring family road trip. The photo is now in evidence storage, along with his Game Boy, still paused mid-game, waiting for him to press start. The Desert Vista Motel location is now a cell phone tower facility, fenced, locked, no trace of what happened. But locals say if you drive past at night, sometimes you can see a light in the desert where Room 12 used to be. Not supernatural, they insist, just someone leaving a nightlight on for a boy who was afraid of the dark, who called for his parents in his last conscious moments, who traveled 1,000 miles toward a new life and found only darkness in a ventilation shaft in a forgotten motel. Ryan Carter lives in Phoenix now, remarried, has 2 daughters. He triple-checks locks, installs motion sensors, won't stay in motels. Every June 18th, he drives to New Mexico, to the spot where the Desert Vista used to be. He stands there for exactly 8 minutes, 1 for each year of Tommy's life, then drives home in silence. He never talks about it, but his wife knows where he goes. Everyone who loves him knows where he goes. The ventilation grate from Room 12 is in FBI evidence storage, cataloged, forgotten. 4 screw holes, 18-inch opening, some microscopic blood traces that proved a child was pulled through an impossible space. It's the kind of evidence that solves a case but doesn't solve the grief. The kind that explains how but never really explains why. The kind that says an 8-year-old boy disappeared from a locked room and never came home, and all the investigation in the world can't undo those 12 minutes in the dark.